What is going on, everyone out there? I'm Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel. So, things are going to be a little bit different with this video. This is going to be my overall thoughts and my review of Mortal Kombat, the 2021 movie that literally just came out today. I got a chance to watch it on HBO Max, but you could watch it in theaters. Some people got to see it early before the release, but I saw it on release day with everybody else. You guys know, if you've been following me on Twitter, Instagram, or anywhere else, which you should be doing, by the way, I've been really excited about this movie. I've been hyping myself up. I've been ready to watch this, and today was finally the day. So with this whole video, I'm going to try to do this with as little edits or anything else as possible, as well as also we are going to get into spoilers, so just be forewarned. I'm going to talk about everything, just give my full thoughts about this movie, because there is a lot to unpack, man. And I also have some notes here, you know, to refer to like some of the cast members, some of the characters, and other things to get into with Mortal Kombat, because there is a lot, like I said. Now, just to kind of start things off, my first overall thoughts after having watched the movie, I'm probably going to see it again later on today with a friend. I have to say, I did enjoy it. I did like it. However, there was a bunch of things as a Mortal Kombat fan, which is, I'm pretty sure many of you MK fans out there are going to feel the same way, that I had a couple issues and a couple like little things that stood out to me as a big fan of the games, obviously. Again, I've played every single Mortal Kombat game, including the spin-offs that have come out to date. And there's a lot of story in this movie. There's a lot of lore and a lot of references that if you're a big MK fan, you're going to get some of these deep cuts and you're going to be like, oh, so the whole team over there, the director was really paying attention to some stuff, and they kind of threw us fans a bone here and there. However, in terms of the story as a film, as a movie, as a movie watching experience, there was a lot of things that I felt like were done very fast and kind of done just for the sake of just kind of moving things along, you know, just kind of getting us the next bullet point for what was going on with this plot of this story. And the other thing, too, that I think a lot of other people who have reviewed this film before release have talked about, and it's a real big standout with this film, is that this takes place before the actual Mortal Kombat tournament, where this is all pretty much, it feels like a big prologue compared to what we're actually going to see and what we get eventually in subsequent sequels, which I'm totally convinced we're going to get a Mortal Kombat 2. There's going to be a sequel to this movie, especially with how well it's looking to do in the box office, as well as people, just the overall hype of it overall. And for me, you know, like I said, this just feels like a big prequel. There are characters in here, a lot of different characters, and I think the entire original cast from the first Mortal Kombat game. But then you got characters from like Mortal Kombat 2, from Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, Mortal Kombat 4. Like, there's a lot in here that's like scattered throughout. And most of it is really kind of pulled from different Easter eggs and little hints and kind of nods to other aspects of this version of the MK universe. Like, one of the biggest like nods to me, which I thought was really cool, was when they referred to Reptile as Syzoth. Now, Syzoth is the original name of Reptile that goes back into a lot of the older games, and that just gets really deep into the lore. But instead of calling him Reptile, they call him that. And he's in the movie briefly. I know a lot of people, including myself, were worried that what we thought was going to happen actually happens to Reptile. So again, like I said, there's going to be spoilers in here, so bear with it, get comfortable, grab a drink because you're going to need it. There's a lot of things to really kind of, you know, unpack here. And for Reptile being such a big character from MK2, I understood why they implemented him into this film, into this story, the way that they did. However, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of Reptile fans that are going to be very disappointed. They're going to be kind of like, oh, well, he was there, he got some moments, and that was it. He was done. He was gone. He was killed. In the trailer, Kano kills Reptile. That's exactly what everybody thought, and that's exactly what happens. It's done with comedic effect, don't get me wrong, which we'll get to in just a second. But there was that instance with Reptile that he was just kind of into this and he was just gone afterwards. This is the same thing with other characters, including Cabal from Mortal Kombat 3, Melina from Mortal Kombat 2, Nitara, which is from Deadly Alliance, which I did not expect whatsoever. And the actress that they got to play Nitara, I thought looked really good. She looked very sexy, you know, kind of like how Nitara is supposed to look. But again, it feels like this was just a throwaway character that was a nod for the fans, but it was used in a way just to kind of progress a little bit another character during the course of the plot. Speaking of which, one of the biggest things that happens in this movie, or yeah, I'm like all over the place, so bear with me. Again, this is like all over the place talking about this movie. I need to go back to some of the earlier bullet points, right? So the big kind of like, you know, main focal point of this film, or the one that we as the audience have, is Cole. Now, Cole is this character that's related to Scorpion. He's a descendant of Scorpion, of, what is it, if I could pronounce it right, Hiroyuki Sanada's character, which is Scorpion, which is Hasashi Hanzo, pronouncing it wrong, Hasashi Hanzo. And in the beginning of the movie, they actually show like, Scorpion's family being killed, which is very, authentic to the games and the backstory of the MK universe, which is cool. And instead of like, implementing any of the other like extended lore stuff, which is, gets really complicated. I'm not going to get into this now, but if you know, they kind of simplify it here and they make it so that way Bi-Han, which is the original Sub-Zero, kills Scorpion's family. And he thinks he kills the entire clan. However, there's one baby that actually survives that Raiden finds and takes into hiding. And then over the centuries, obviously that bloodline, continues to kind of like more heirs and the lineage continues onward. And we get to Cole, who is an MMA fighter that is kind of like, he's always getting the crap kicked out of him. He's always taking punches and taking losses and taking falls in order to get paid, which is an interesting concept for a character, but the problem that I have with Cole is that he's just not that likable. He's just kind of like whatever. And there's certain aspects with his interactions with other characters that are authentic MK characters like Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano. I would even say Kung Lao, which again we'll get into in just a second. It's just he's just kind of like very generic and very blasé. And I get it that this movie had to have another original character, that they could create. It's going to add to the mythology, which I'm totally fine with. But the way that it's executed here is just kind of meh at the best, right? So besides that, basically Cole is recruited because he has the dragon marking tattoo, which is a thing. I think this is kind of stupid, where they have the dragon tattoo that shows that you've been chosen. It appears randomly at birth for Cole because of his bloodline with Hasashi Hanzo with Scorpion. I'm just gonna call him Scorpion from now on, from Scorpion's lineage. And the way that they kind of like explain the dragon tattoo, where it appears on just random people in Earthrealm that are chosen, and you could actually take it away from another person if you kill them before the tournament, which I understand why they did that, to have certain things happen towards the end of the film, but I just thought that was actually kind of stupid. It was just kind of weird, and it felt a little bit kind of like a nod to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is with all the characters' dragon tattoos that they have from Shao Kahn's army, but that's another thing for another time. But he ends up, his family ends up, getting attacked by Sub-Zero, because Sub-Zero comes to Earthrealm at the behest of Shang Tsung, because they're trying to kill all the Earthrealm warriors before the next Mortal Kombat tournament, which is the 10th tournament that everybody knows about. Basically, if a realm wins 10 Mortal Kombat tournaments, they can invade the losing realm and actually take it over, which is what's happening between Outworlds and Earthrealm. And it's fine. I think that's cool. Again, totally authentic to the actual mythology and to the lore. But now, you start getting a lot of mixed up types of things, with Cole being an original character, with certain characters like Johnny Cage. Everybody made a big deal about Johnny Cage not appearing in this film. He's not in this, which kind of makes sense since this is before the tournament. However, there is a huge nod at the end of the movie, which we're going to see him in the sequel, which is like, Cole ends up, after everything is said and done, he's going to go to Hollywood to go find Johnny Cage. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. You got me, it's fine, but I would have loved to see him in this. It would have made much more sense to have Johnny Cage instead of Cole, but whatever. They needed to kind of keep things, original and make things kind of like, as a good setup for this entire universe. But anyway, Sub-Zero, he comes, he wreaks havoc. Jax actually saves Cole, gets him and his family out of there, and then him and Sub-Zero have a fight. Jax ends up having his arms completely just severed, completely messed up. Sub-Zero just destroys Jax, like completely. Like Sub-Zero in this movie, he feels very overpowered. He feels very OP. Like they really just bigged him up, right? And there's like these kind of like cutaways to Outworld in between different events, right? Like right before and during the events of like what's going on with Jax and Sub-Zero, where we see Shang Tsung, we meet some of the other like enemies that we're gonna kind of come across, which are part of his army, and he's basically sending everybody to Earthrealm to kill all these different fighters before the tournament starts. So you have him, you have Sub-Zero, you have Cabal, you have Melina, you have Nitara, you have Reiko, which is completely out of left field, which is from Mortal Kombat 4, and it's just like, he's just kind of there just to be there. Some of these characters are just there for whatever reason. They're not really central characters to, what's going on with the plot itself. They're just there just to kind of move things along. And they do have a couple mentions of like, the Emperor Shao Kahn, which he has a statue that he's seen. There's even mention of the Great Kung Lao, which is again nods to the mythology and stuff. Eventually, when Cole meets up with Sonya Blade, because he actually leaves his family in some like random area that we just don't hear from them for most of the movie, right? he goes, he meets up with Sonya Blade that's in this military facility. She's actually doing a bunch of stuff where she's trying to research about the Mortal Kombat tournament and about Raiden's, lore and everything else behind the Mortal Kombat tournament. And she actually has Kano tied up. The best thing about this entire movie, I'm telling you right now, and I read all the reviews, I watched all the reviews, and they weren't lying. Kano is the best character in this movie. He's the most funny, he's hilarious in some moments. He's the most kind of witty and quick, reactionary to a lot of stuff that's going on. But I felt like what happens to him in this movie completely ruins one of the best elements of it that could be carried over to the sequel. So again, spoiler alerts, I already let you guys know. Kano ends up getting killed in this movie by Sonya Blade. And the whole reason why I feel like that happens is because Kano actually has that dragon marking that Cole has, which Kano's been chosen. He actually took it from somebody else randomly. He even says it in a line of dialogue. But he ends up getting killed by Sonya Blade, and now Sonya Blade has the dragon marking. Now she's one of Earthrealm's chosen warriors. And it's just really weird because I would have loved to see Kano survive and actually make it into the next film because he's just so likable to watch on screen. Once he gets injected into the film, once he actually joins the rest of the cast, everything just starts to go up even further. It levels up through the entire movie. And it's just so weird that they would make a decision just to kill him off like that. I'm hoping they could just come up with some nonsense explanation where they could actually just bring Kano back and some of the other warriors that we saw in this film back for the sequel for the tournament itself. But it's just, again, I just want to put that out there. The actual actor that plays Kano, I'm actually going to get his name right. Where is he? Kano, Josh Lawson. He is utterly hilarious as Kano. There's just so many moments where it's just he makes a comment about a certain character, about Liu Kang, about Kung Lao. He gets to arguments with some of these characters, and just his comebacks and just his little insults are hilarious. It got a laugh out of me every single time he was talking on screen. It's just great. But anyway, the three of them end up they end up fighting Reptile. Kano has his fight with Reptile. He actually kills him. He does his fatality from the first Mortal Kombat game, and that's totally cool. And again, he even goes Kano wins, and he's just he has the whole thing from the trailer, and that's cool, right? So they end up going to some remote country, they don't really say exactly where, to look for Raiden's temple, which is an area where not only they meet up with Liu Kang, but they also meet up with Kung Lao. And they find Jax, where Raiden has taken Jax, and he's actually getting the monks there to work on his mechanical arms. And the funny thing about this is where the movie starts to pull out a lot of BS logic out of its ass. And it's just where they explain that your arcana is the source of your power. You have to discover what your arcana is, and it's a gift from having the actual tattoo for being Earthrealm's chosen warriors. And Kung Lao and Liu Kang have discovered their stuff. Lord Raiden obviously is an elder god, and then everybody else, with the exception of Sonya Blade, has these markings where they have to discover their arcana, including Cole himself. And it just feels so weird and ham-fisted as an explanation to get the superpowers for all these different characters into this movie. It's I get it, okay, it's a reasoning, it's some sort of logic in line with everything else, but I just wasn't feeling it. I just felt it was kind of silly, and it could have been better explained. It could have been better where, Raiden or Liu Kang or even Kung Lao could have explained it's chi and everybody has chi and everybody could have some sort of powers, as opposed to just being given it with the actual dragon tattoo. It's just whatever, right? So besides that, they have this long section of the movie, okay? From this point, once they get to Raiden's temple, they have this long section of the movie where they're training, okay? So it's Liu Kang, Kano, Kung Lao, and Cole, okay? And then Jax and Sonya Blade are just kind of there, and they even kind of make this insulting remark about Sonya Blade not having the dragon tattoo. Even Lord Raiden just condescends her, right? And they're you're kind of a liability because you're not Earthrealm's chosen warrior. And it's you know what? That kind of felt a little out of place to me, because Sonya Blade is one of the original characters that's part of the tournament and stuff, and it wasn't really where, she was everybody was chosen by the elder gods and stuff like that. It was Raiden choosing the different warriors that he felt were worthy, and it felt very weird and out of place, and just kind of a reason to get her removed from everything that was going on with these characters, so that way everything could go and happen with Jax and stuff. It was just very weird and very stupid. So throughout this entire training montage, or training session for all these characters, we get to see Cole fight Kung Lao, fight Liu Kang. We get to see Kano fight Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and he gets his butt kicked. And they're all trying to fight each other to discover their arcana and discover their powers. And eventually, after this entire section is pretty much over, Kano gets his powers, and there's this whole funny section where they're having dinner and they're trying to, like, goading him on and, like, insulting Kano because he's been a jerk to everybody for the entire movie up to this point. And eventually he loses it and learns that he actually could shoot lasers out of his one eye, which I believe it's his right, yeah, it's his right eye. And instead of him having like a cybernetic implant right in his head, it actually is just his laser that comes out of his eye. It's really weird. I know it's a kind of a change from what the actual story is from the games, because remember, Kano had like this like Terminator type of thing. He was an inspiration from the original Terminator movies, so he had this metal like implant on his eye that allowed him to do that. But in this one, he actually could shoot it from his eye, kind of like Superman, right? So it's funny. It's a funny section where he gets his powers and stuff. They do a little bit more training, and eventually Shang Tsung shows up and is actually goading everybody. He wants his warriors to kill all the warriors there. Raiden interferes. He says that you're forbidden from doing this, and Shang Tsung's like, I don't care. Like, they're not really going to enforce the rules. The other gods are lazy, which I thought was an interesting line to throw in there, because it was a kind of like a thing that always kind of like stuck out to me and many other people. Why was it that the elder gods never really kind of, kind of like, threw themselves into actually stopping like all the fighting before the tournament? It just didn't make any sense. And he just threw this line in there. It's like, listen, the elder gods just don't really care. They're just kind of like, whatever. The realms will kind of like take care of themselves. And he even made a point to say that throughout all the other 9 tournaments that they won, or at least Outworld won, they were never playing by the rules. They were always like, being dirty. Compared to what, Earthrealm and Raiden and all these other realms were doing. So that kind of made sense to me, but it was, it's just interesting to see that. But Raiden comes in, he stops everything, he kind of, completely puts up this, like, electric shield that Shang Tsung can't go through, and he's trying to, Shang Tsung, for a little bit of time, has to figure out a way to get through the shield so that way his warriors could go kill everybody there. And it ends up happening where they convince Cabal to go talk to Kano, because Kano and Cabal have a history, which, with the Black Dragon Clan, and a lot of it is not really explained. You have to go back into some of like the old lore from the games to really understand that like Kano and Cabal were part of the Black Dragon Clan. There was like all these skirmishes and stuff, and they hint at it, but they never fully explain it. And what I found funny too is that Cabal has like this Italian like Guido accent to him. It's just really weird. It felt out of place to me because I don't remember Cabal being like that. I always thought Cabal was Latino or something else, and it was just like his accent and just the way he talks. It's just like so like it's so distracting, but it's so funny when it's paired up with Kano because their banter is actually kind of funny. And Cabal ends up convincing Kano to kind of put down the shield. He actually uses his power that he discovered to destroy Raiden's staff, which I felt was also kind of weird. That it's so easily destroyed like that. But choking over here. But he actually, again, that allows all of Shang Tsung's warriors, which is basically Mileena, Cabal, and Shang Tsung himself, and Sub-Zero, to enter into the temple and actually start fighting everybody else. So they get into a fight. Kung Lao ends up fighting, I believe he ends up fighting, I'm trying to remember who he ends up fighting. It's Liu Kang fights Cabal. Okay, Raiden is still like nowhere to be found for like a good while. Sonya ends up fighting Mileena for a bit, and she gets her butt kicked. Jax, I think, is also trying to help out there too, but he also gets his butt kicked as well. Oh, he fights Reiko. I'm sorry, he fights Reiko there for a bit, and he gets his butt kicked. And I'm trying to remember also like that. Cole's the same thing. He's actually trying to help him out, and I think at one point Cole leaves before all this goes down. Right, he leaves to go back to his family, and I think Sub-Zero or something. Oh no, Goro. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. Okay, again, I'm jumping around, so bear with me. I'm doing this from memory. So Goro was one of the other fighters that's with Shang Tsung's army, which makes sense. Goro actually goes to the place where Cole's family is hiding out and actually tries to go kill them, and him and Cole get into a fight. And while all this other stuff is going on. So all these things are happening, everything's going down and whatnot. And one of the things that happens, right, is that Kung Lao ends up getting killed, which to me personally, okay, because basically what happens is Shang Tsung grabs him and says that your soul is mine and takes his soul right there, which is kind of weird because you would think that like he would do that after like a fight and stuff, but like no, like Shang Tsung literally destroys him. Before this happens too, I should mention as well, because I was mentioning it before, Nitara gets killed by Kung Lao and he does like his split in half fatality, and Nitara's just gone for the movie. It's just like she was just there for like a couple minutes and that's it. She was done. So it was one of those weird things that just happens, right? So all this happens, Kung Lao gets killed, Raiden finally shows up, whisk everybody away into the realm between realms, which is weird because I don't remember this at all from the Mortal Kombat games, that there's a actual area between the realms that nobody else but Raiden could go to, which is, again, it feels a little bit kind of pulled out of left field, but In the midst of this fight as well, okay, they start talking about like, okay, like who's gonna go fight what. Cole has this like, speech that like, gets everybody riled up. It felt weird after Kung Lao was just killed. Liu Kang is like distraught because like that's his boy and all this stuff, and it's just really kind of like, again, it felt very ham-fisted at this point in the movie. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna try to speed everything up. So when this happens, okay, Raiden teleports everybody after Cole has the bright idea. Is like, hey, Raiden, you could teleport anywhere at any time, right? Raiden's like, yeah. This is like really stupid. He just gives him this nod, and all you have to do is just go, yeah. So they end up teleporting each individual person to a different area, right? So most of the fighters now at this point have their Arcana and they have their abilities and stuff, with the exception of Sonya Blade. So Sonya Blade actually goes to fight Kano. Liu Kang goes to fight Cabal. And Cole goes to fight, I believe, who was he goes to fight? I'm trying to remember. I think he goes to fight, Sub-Zero, he goes to fight, no, actually, he doesn't go to fight Sub-Zero. He goes to fight Melina and Cabal with Liu Kang. And I think that's about it. Yeah, and Jax goes to fight Reiko. So it's just weird because Reiko is the first one to go down, okay? They actually put Jax and Reiko on the pit stage, okay? The pit stage, right? Which, for whatever reason, they don't do the pit fatality, which is just bonkers to me. Why would you put somebody on there, like, give us a huge nod for us Mortal Kombat fans, and not actually have Jax knock him into the pit? That's what I thought he was going to do, because in the trailer, he does his clap fatality, right? I thought he was just going to knock him into there and then have him fall into the spikes right afterwards. But it just is so bonkers to me that you just would not have that. That was a huge part of the first Mortal Kombat movie. But whatever, okay? Jax defeats Reiko. Sonya Blade goes to fight Kano. They have a banter. They actually fight in Sonya Blade's old place. She ends up killing Kano in a really stupid fashion, by the way. She stabs him in the eye, in the right eye, with his laser, with some sort of like statue or thing that she found. It just felt very like... It was just lackluster, in my personal opinion. It just felt like it was kind of stupid. But she ends up getting the dragon marking after killing Kano. Melina gets killed by Sonya Blade when she comes back, because she actually, all of a sudden now she could shoot her lasers, which made no sense. Like, all these other guys had to train for all this stuff to get their Arcana, to find their power, and now Sonya Blade just gets it immediately. But I was like, at this point in the movie, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Let's just keep going, right? So she kills Melina, and Melina gets killed in such a quick fashion where it's like, there's so much lore and history with that character. Why would you kill them off so quickly? It's the same thing that I felt with Kung Lao and with Reptile. It was just kind of like so fast, and I was like, whatever. So, besides that, Melina's dead. I'm trying to think of who else like that. At this point, like, I think Sub-Zero comes back, right? And I think also Cabal gets killed by Liu Kang. I should mention that as well. Cabal gets killed by Liu Kang, and Liu Kang does the dragon fatality where he has the fire dragon from the trailers. Cabal gets burned, and he's pretty much done. He's toast. Okay? Shang Tsung and Raiden, I think at one point they have some sort of conversation there, but before all that happens, Bihan shows up. He goads Cole into actually going after his family, because he actually showed up to his family without him knowing, and actually has this little like bracelet that his daughter made. Goads him into actually chasing after him, and they go into this place where in the trailers you actually see Scorpion fight Sub-Zero. So mind you, throughout all this point in the movie, we haven't really seen Scorpion, okay? We only saw him in the beginning. We've seen, like, a little allusions to him and talked about it. I know Raiden explains to Cole his whole lineage, since he's the descendant of Scorpion. And he ends up getting this spear, which is, there's this Hanzo's spear, which is the Scorpion spear, right? And he says that it has the blood of your ancestor, that he'll be with you and stuff. Never explain what this connection is, or, like, what supernatural connection this has, right? So Cole ends up fighting Sub-Zero for a bit. He stabs him with the actual sword, or the actual little spear. And all of a sudden, after that happens, the spear starts to glow, and it has Cole's blood and it has Bion's blood. All of a sudden, Scorpion just shows up out of nowhere. He's like, I'm back from the Netherrealm here to kill you. And the Scorpion and Sub-Zero finally gets started. And real talk, okay? I'm going to make sure I got the actual actor's name. So, where is his name? So Joe Talsim and Hiroyuki Sanada have an amazing fight, right? They have awesome chemistry on screen. The first fight that they did at the very beginning of the movie was awesome. This fight is also awesome. And right when Scorpion shows up, he does the get over here line, but I know they changed the actual audio, because in the trailer of the audio, it's different. And I think that they got Ed Boon to do the voice. I have to double check this. I have to confirm it from somewhere, or somebody that could actually find this out and see if actually Ed Boon did this. But it sounds like Ed Boon's voice, but it's not the same type of like scream that he does, but you could tell it is very different, because that was a complaint that everybody had about the trailer. So This fight is awesome. It's pretty darn awesome. What's his name? Cole finds his family actually frozen in ice on the side of this actual area. He's trying to break them out, and Sub-Zero's trying to prevent him from doing so. Also, now you get Scorpion and Cole versus Sub-Zero. Why Cole is here outside of just getting his family, I have no idea why, but whatever, right? He didn't need to be there, personally, in my opinion. I wanted just to see the fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero continue, but it ends up being like a 2-on-1, right? So they end up fighting. The fight's going amazing and stuff. There's some really cool moments, with the powers. And I have to say that once the fight draws to its conclusion, there was a couple moments that I felt like Cole was going to get the killing blow on Sub-Zero, which I did not want to see. Thankfully, though, they allow Scorpion to get the final shot or the final kill, which is basically his fatality from the first Mortal Kombat game. He actually breathes fire on Sub-Zero, which is awesome. He burns him alive, okay? Really freaking cool. It looks dope, right? I also do have to say that I like Scorpion's spear, the metal spear that he has. It actually looks pretty freaking dope, where he actually just keeps pulling it out and throwing it in and stuff. All the fighting, the choreography, on point. It was amazing. So finally, when Sub-Zero is dead, right? Finally, they go back. I should actually say it too. Before they go back to where Raiden is at, right? Scorpion and Cole have a little moment. He says, "Thank you for freeing me," for the Shirai Ryu and all this other stuff. And Scorpion just whisk away, and he's never seen again for the rest of the movie, right? He just kind of goes away in these flames, he teleports somewhere. So he's just out there doing something now, right? After that, right? So Cole goes back to where Raiden is at. Raiden has this one final conversation with Shang Tsung saying, no matter how many people you put into the ground, there'll always be others to take their place. I'm totally cool with that. Whatever. Okay. They're hinting at a sequel. And at the same time, while this conversation is going on, Shang Tsung is getting the bodies of all his fallen warriors and teleporting them away, which I thought at some point, right? Because they actually focus on Bi-Han's body. I thought that was the moment that he's going to turn into Noob Saibot. So anybody that doesn't know, Noob Saibot is actually Bi-Han just reincarnated or changed up again as a specter, as a dark, shadowy ninja, right? That's Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat 2, and they explain it in Mortal Kombat 3. I thought that was the moment that they were actually going to do that, but I'm guessing with all the shadow powers and everything else and the teleportation, they were probably hinting at it for the sequel, which I'm totally cool with. If we're going to get a sequel, I better see Bi-Han again. I also better see the younger Sub-Zero going for revenge against, Scorpion or any of this other stuff. There's a lot that I want to see, right? So besides that, okay, they go away. Raiden actually teleports Shang Tsung away after Shang Tsung's talking smack. And he cracks a joke. He says he talks too much and all this other nonsense and whatnot. And they say that they have to start preparing for the tournament, okay? So they have to find another list of Earth's champions that have the marking in order to see if they're chosen so they could get ready to fight in the Mortal Kombat tournament proper this time. So at the very end of the movie, it's very kind of ham-fisted as an ending. They actually have Cole go back to the original place where he was actually fighting at the very start of the movie. And he's talking to the guy there. He's like, "Hey, I'm done. I'm quitting here. Where are you going to go?" He's like, "I'm going to go to Hollywood. What are you going to find in Hollywood there? You're going to find a job and stuff?" He's like, "No, I'm actually going to go look for someone." And they actually show a poster at the very end of the movie that just says Johnny Cage or You Got Caged, one of his films. But they don't show the face because they didn't cast Johnny Cage in this movie at all. So I felt it was a little bit of a cop-out. It's a nice nod and a hint at whatever this next movie is going to be. So they're finally going to have Johnny Cage in the next movie. Fine. But all these other characters that ended up dying or just going away, they're not going to be in the tournament unless they get resurrected somehow. Especially if they do the whole thing with the Spectre stuff from some of the rebooted Mortal Kombat games. But as it stands right now having gone through the whole film, okay, because it's almost about half an hour of me talking about this movie. Like I said at the start of this, I did enjoy it. I did enjoy watching it. I do have all those problems that I didn't mention throughout all of this. And I feel like those little things could have been done a little bit better, or some other creative decisions could have been changed in order to make this movie a little bit more enjoyable. I've seen a lot of people saying that this movie is bad. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. I think it's a great live-action Mortal Kombat film. It does take a lot of liberties, and you have to understand that's going to happen with every single adaptation that's out there, especially over an original property like Mortal Kombat, which is so crazy and outlandish and has so many characters and has so much lore and story behind it. You have to be able to kind of, put this in a way and present it in a way that for general audiences, they're going to be able to take in as much as they can and then be excited for whatever comes next, to want to be able to stay in this universe, right? And so for the most part, I actually liked it. For the most part, I thought it was good. I thought that, the choreography was amazing. The look and the visuals of this stuff, especially with the powers, looks pretty freaking dope. But outside of those one or two plot points, I felt like it was just kind of whatever. So should you see Mortal Kombat, in all honesty? If you have HBO Max, definitely check it out because, again, you get it for free to watch it on HBO Max at the time I'm recording this vlog. But if you're thinking about going to the theaters for it, unless you're a diehard Mortal Kombat fan or unless you're like really into the games or know of the games, you're going to enjoy it. But if you're not, then you're probably just, again, if you're looking for anything else much more than like just a simple, just fighting, crazy action movie, you're not going to enjoy this much more than that. So anyway, I know that was long. I know that this was long-winded, okay? That was my thoughts overall on my review of Mortal Kombat 2021. I did get a couple comments here from Twitter. I actually put out a Twitter posting saying like, hey, if there's any like comments and stuff about the film, you know, I want to be able to share some thoughts and stuff. So I actually got one from Twitter follower Aaron Scheller. He says, I liked it overall, but I do have a few nitpicks and one big issue. Without spoiling anything, my nitpicks are the scene with Reptile Creature and the choice of Shang Tsung's minions. It was obvious that they were picked, so their fates were equally obvious to see coming. And my one real big issue was with how Liu Kang, the main protagonist in the games, was overlooked in favor of the narrative between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which is an issue in the games themselves often have. I get why, though, since those two are the most iconic characters. And that's kind of true, because Scorpion and Sub-Zero are the most iconic characters. They're the ninjas, you know, the main like mascots of the entire franchise. Technically, Liu Kang is the chosen one. They try to make it out in this movie that Cole is the chosen one, and that's not really the case. At least I didn't get it like that. All these different characters are chosen. They all have markings. But I hope at least, you know, in the sequel, they actually get into that Liu Kang himself, you know, the Shaolin monk who's been faithful to his lineage and actually wants to do good and help protect the realm. I hope that they get to the point where he's really the main focus as, like, you know, being the chosen one that actually goes and fights into the tournament. So, anyway, like I said, this has already been going on long enough. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this vlog, me talking about the film. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys want to see more videos like this of me reviewing films, reviewing films or movies and stuff that I like and enjoy watching, whether it's series, films, or anything else like that. Talk to me about that stuff down below in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Show some love if you can. Spread word about the channel too. Help me get to at least, you know, past 10K subscribers. Again, that's still my goal for this year. But yeah, that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay.